Welcome to Inside the Vault. Today we're joined by Nick Barisheff, President and CEO of Bullion Management Group and author of $10,000 Gold, Why Gold's Inevitable Rise is the Investor's Safe Haven. Nick, China has recently made a number of moves to internationalize the renminbi, which is likely going to affect the US dollar status. Can you give our viewers some perspective on these events? And also, what do you anticipate to be future moves?
Well, the importance to look at here is that there has been several strategic moves by the Chinese that are removing the dependency on the US dollar as the reserve currency. And unless you're studying this, the individual moves would go largely unnoticed in the mainstream media. So I'll just summarize some of the major ones. Like, first of all, they've signed over the last few years 26 bilateral swap agreements. Now what this means is that when their trading partners have a trade imbalance, they'll settle that imbalance between China and the trading partner in their own currencies. In the past, this used to be done with US dollars. So now the US dollar has been eliminated as the middleman in these 26 bilateral swap agreements. Now this is important because, for example, when Australia signed their bilateral swap agreements, the Prime Minister of Australia came on the air stating that, well, now that we've signed this, we don't need to hold so much in the way of US dollar reserves, since they don't have such a need for US dollars. So what this does is it just reduces the need for US dollars in all these exchanges. The second major event is some time ago they established the BRICS Development Bank. So this is a bank that's been established to provide infrastructure development loans to the developing countries, and it's in direct competition to the World Bank and to the IMF. So this again is another move away from the US dollar. Recently they have established a currency exchange hub in Canada with the ICBC Bank. So now individual companies can exchange Canadian dollars to yuan through this newly established bank. So again, eliminating the US dollar as the middleman. Latest recent announcement also now that the yuan has been accepted as part of the SDR basket. So this is a basket of currencies that has been established some time ago by the IMF, and the intended purpose of the IMF and so on is to ultimately have the SDR replace the US dollar as the international reserve currency. And the final thing, which is I think about a year away, is that both China together with Russia are setting up an international payment alternative to the SWIFT system, so that currencies can be exchanged electronically. So these are quite a number of strategic moves that, unless you're studying this, could easily be missed. But when you start putting them together, this is almost becoming like a death of 1,000 cuts for the US dollar. And now you've got to consider that China is the largest producer of gold, and it's also the largest buyer of gold. Officially, it only holds 1,054 tons, but numerous observers have speculated that there's at least another 4,000 tons held by the Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund that doesn't report to anybody. So it's likely that the Chinese hold anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 tons of gold. And that's an important consideration because in the allocation of what percentage each country's currency represents as the SDR, holding gold reserves is part of that formula. So at about 6,000 tons, China gets a meaningful percentage representation of the SDR. So the next moves that I think are likely to happen is at some point in the future China announces that it actually holds in excess of 5,000 tons, or, and maybe in addition, OPEC announces that it will accept payment in other currencies as well as SDR. So that ends the petrodollar regime and probably the status of the US dollar as the reserve currency. So these are kind of macro moves that are happening that, you know, aren't covered like this in the mainstream media, but if you put the pieces together, you can see where this is going. The end result is that at some point the US dollar will lose its reserve status or its importance in the world, and the price of gold will dramatically go up.
Thank you, Nick. And to our viewers, we hope you join us again soon for more insights into precious metals and the world economy. Thanks for watching.